Tonight, we're diving into an event that took place in Redding, California. It was put on by the conservative youth group Turning Point USA and was called An Evening of Faith. We're going to look at how they mixed very personal stories with a much bigger call for a national spiritual revival, and how it all brought hundreds of people together for a night of worship. Let's get into it.
And just so we're clear, all the information we're going to be walking through in this explainer comes straight from the reporting of Shasta Unfiltered. They were on the ground and covered the event in detail. So what was the vibe really like there? Let's set the stage for this evening of faith and take a look at who was there both inside and outside the auditorium. Okay, so you had about 400 people show up at the Redding Civic Auditorium. And the focus, interestingly, wasn't really on political speeches. It was on something way more personal: worship, faith, and these powerful stories of transformation. What's pretty notable here is that this whole thing was basically youth-led. It was the local TPUSA chapters from high schools and colleges, like the ones you see here, that were the real driving force. Their student presidents even got up on stage. Now, the reporting also gives us the full picture of the scene. It notes that while all this was going on inside, a peaceful protest was happening right outside. Because of that, there were security on hand, and they were screening everyone who came in the door. The evening's narrative really kicked off with a deeply personal story. It came from the first speaker, a Marine Corps veteran by the name of Jim Wadley. So Wadley's story was all about this intense internal conflict. On the outside, he was a successful Marine vet, holding leadership positions. But on the inside, he described fighting these personal battles that were really taking a toll on his life and even his marriage. His path to what he described as this profound transformation seems to follow 4 really clear steps. It all started when he hit a low point and actually resigned from his job. From there, he started reading the Bible, specifically the Gospel of John. He said this led to this huge moment of change, where all his anxiety was just replaced by peace, which gave him a brand new calling. And this newfound purpose wasn't just an idea. It translated directly into action. His new mission, as he put it, was to start visiting homeless camps. He'd go there to read the Bible and share the gospel with the people living there. Wadley's incredibly personal story really set the stage perfectly for the next speaker. He took that theme of one person's transformation and just scaled it way up, turning it into a call for a full-on national revival. And that next speaker was Tom Crandell. He's a pretty significant figure in the local faith community there. He's the overseer of evangelism at Bethel Church in Redding, and he also founded an organization called One Hope for America. So Crandell's message totally shifted gears from the individual to the entire nation. He made this really bold declaration to the whole audience that America right now is in a season of revival. He was suggesting a huge spiritual reawakening is already happening. And to back this claim up, he didn't just rely on a feeling. He actually pointed to some data. Crandell brought up a recent spike in Bible sales. We're talking a 22% increase in the US and a 30% jump in the UK as a real, tangible sign of this growing spiritual interest. But, and this was a huge but for him, Crandell added a critical condition for this revival to happen. He argued that it just can't happen if people are always told that everything they're doing is right. He said it requires what he called repentance, a turning away from wrongdoing, which he framed as the absolute first step toward salvation through faith. So, as the evening wrapped up, you have to wonder, what was the immediate impact? And what were the big ideas that the audience was really left thinking about? Well, it seems these messages had an immediate effect. The article reports that in response to what's known as an altar call, which is basically an invitation to make a public commitment to your faith, dozens of people in the audience actually came forward. The event closed out by reinforcing some of the core beliefs of the organization's founder, Charlie Kirk. The key takeaways were messages focused on faith, on the importance of getting married and having a family, and on pursuing what was described as eternal joy instead of just temporary satisfaction. So that's the breakdown of the evening. You know, the structure itself tells a story. It moves from one person's very intimate transformation to this huge vision for a national revival. It's a really powerful way to frame a message, and it leaves us with a final thought to chew on. How do events like this use these personal stories to get across a much broader message about faith and society?